Have you ever questioned your own senses? Perhaps you saw a mirage shimmering on a hot road, or maybe you felt your phone vibrate when it was actually still. Our senses can deceive us. This raises a fundamental question. Can we truly know anything for certain? How do we distinguish between belief and knowledge? These questions have puzzled philosophers for centuries. In a world overflowing with information, understanding the nature of knowledge itself is more crucial than ever. The pursuit of knowledge is a fundamental human endeavor. But what if the ground beneath our feet, the very foundation of our beliefs, is shakier than we realize? Epistemology is the branch of philosophy that grapples with the nature of knowledge. It seeks to answer questions like, what is knowledge? How do we acquire knowledge? Can we be certain about anything? These are not merely abstract puzzles. Epistemology underpins our everyday lives. When we trust a weather forecast, rely on a medical diagnosis, or accept a scientific theory, we're implicitly relying on epistemological assumptions. Understanding epistemology helps us evaluate information critically and form justified beliefs. It encourages us to examine the reasons behind our beliefs and to be intellectually honest with ourselves and others. The quest for knowledge is a journey with profound implications for how we understand ourselves and the world around us. Skepticism, a prominent theme in epistemology, challenges our ability to know anything with absolute certainty. Skeptics don't necessarily deny the existence of the external world. Instead, they raise doubts about our capacity to know it with complete assurance. They point out the fallibility of our senses, the possibility of deception, and the limits of human reasoning. Imagine, for instance, that you're dreaming. How could you definitively prove that you're not dreaming right now? This thought experiment, a favorite of skeptics, highlights the difficulty of establishing an unshakable foundation for knowledge. While extreme skepticism might seem impractical for daily life, it serves as a vital tool for critical thinking. It reminds us to question assumptions, demand evidence, and remain open to revising our beliefs in the face of new information. René Descartes, a 17th-century French philosopher, famously embarked on a quest for absolute certainty. He began by doubting everything he thought he knew. His senses could deceive him, his experiences could be dreams, and even his reasoning could be flawed. Descartes' method of doubt was radical but ultimately aimed at finding an unshakable foundation for knowledge. Amidst this sea of doubt, Descartes stumbled upon one indubitable truth: I think therefore I am, cogito, ergo sum. He reasoned that even if he doubted everything else, the very act of doubting proved his own existence as a thinking being. This insight became a cornerstone of his philosophy. Descartes' emphasis on reason and his search for foundational truths continue to shape Western philosophy. His work reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and the pursuit of intellectual rigor. Section 5. Locke and the Empiricist View. John Locke, an English philosopher of the 17th century, offered a contrasting perspective on knowledge. Unlike Descartes, who emphasized reason, Locke championed empiricism. Empiricism asserts that all knowledge originates from sensory experience. According to Locke, we are born as blank slates and our experiences inscribe knowledge upon our minds. Locke argued that through observation, reflection, and the association of ideas, we build a complex understanding of the world. He distinguished between primary qualities, which are objective properties of objects like size and shape, and secondary qualities, which are subjective experiences like color and taste. Locke's emphasis on experience laid the groundwork for modern science. His ideas continue to influence fields like psychology, education, and political philosophy. Section 6. Hume's Radical Skepticism. David Hume, an 18th-century Scottish philosopher, took skepticism to new heights. He challenged fundamental assumptions about causality, induction, and even the self. Hume argued that we never directly experience cause and effect. We only observe events happening in sequence. Our belief in causality, he claimed, stems from habit and custom, not from reason or experience. Hume's skepticism extended to the notion of the self. He argued that we have no direct experience of a permanent, unchanging self. Instead, he suggested that the self is more like a bundle of perceptions constantly changing over time. Hume's radical skepticism shook the foundations of Enlightenment thought. His ideas continue to provoke debate and inspire philosophical inquiry in areas such as metaphysics, epistemology, and the philosophy of mind. Section 7. Kant's Transcendental Idealism. Immanuel Kant, an 18th-century German philosopher, sought to bridge the gap between rationalism, which emphasizes reason, and empiricism, which emphasizes experience. He proposed transcendental idealism, arguing that our minds structure our experience of the world. According to Kant, we don't passively receive information from the world. Instead, our minds actively organize and interpret sensory data through innate categories of understanding, such as space, time, and causality. Kant argued that while we can have knowledge of the phenomenal world, which is the world as we experience it, the noumenal world, or the world as it exists independently of our minds, remains unknowable to us. His work revolutionized epistemology and metaphysics. Kant's ideas continue to shape contemporary debates about the nature of reality, the limits of knowledge, and the relationship between mind and world. Section 8. The Problem of Induction. The problem of induction, often attributed to David Hume, highlights the limits of inductive reasoning. Induction involves drawing general conclusions from specific observations. For example, we might observe that the sun has risen every day in the past and conclude that it will rise again tomorrow. However, Hume pointed out that we have no logical guarantee that the future will resemble the past. Just because something has always happened a certain way, doesn't mean it always will. The problem of induction poses a challenge for scientific reasoning, which often relies on inductive inferences. Despite this challenge, philosophers and scientists continue to grapple with the problem of induction, seeking ways to justify our reliance on inductive reasoning in both everyday life and scientific inquiry. Section 9. Gettier Problems and the Justification of Knowledge. For centuries, philosophers generally agreed that knowledge could be defined as justified true belief. However, in 1963, Edmund Gettier published a short but highly influential paper that challenged this traditional definition. Gettier presented thought experiments demonstrating that it's possible to have a justified true belief that doesn't qualify as genuine knowledge. Imagine, for example, that you look at a clock that shows the time as 2:00 p.m. Unbeknownst to you, the clock is broken. However, by sheer coincidence, the actual time is also 2:00 p.m. In this case, you have a justified true belief that it's 2:00 p.m., but it seems intuitively wrong to say that you know it's 2:00 p.m. Gettier's thought experiments sparked a wave of new thinking about the nature of knowledge and the conditions required for justified true belief to count as genuine knowledge. Philosophers continue to debate and refine the definition of knowledge in light of these challenges. Section 10. Living with uncertainty. The complexities of epistemology might seem daunting. They remind us that absolute certainty is often elusive. However, this doesn't mean we're doomed to a life of perpetual doubt. Instead, embracing a degree of skepticism can help us become more critical thinkers, more open to new information, and more willing to revise our beliefs in the face of evidence. Living with uncertainty is an essential aspect of the human condition. It encourages humility and intellectual honesty. It reminds us that our understanding of the world is always evolving and that there's always more to learn. Section 11. The value of skepticism. Skepticism, often viewed as a negative or destructive force, plays a vital role in the pursuit of knowledge. It serves as a safeguard against dogmatism, bias, and unfounded beliefs. By questioning assumptions, demanding evidence, and considering alternative perspectives, skepticism helps us refine our understanding of the world and ourselves. Skepticism is not about dismissing everything as unknowable. Instead, it's about approaching knowledge claims with a critical yet open mind. It's about seeking the best possible explanations based on the available evidence. In a world awash in information, skepticism has never been more crucial. It empowers us to navigate the complexities of the digital age, to distinguish between fact and fiction, and to make informed decisions about the world around us. By embracing skepticism, we embark on a journey of continuous learning and intellectual growth.